right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Beating the Bookie Show. Today is Tuesday, October 31st. Spooky. Happy Halloween. We've got some scary good plays for you for this weekend. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. Rob, how was your weekend?
Pretty good. We did pretty well. Had a nice comeback weekend in college football and the NFL. So after a couple weeks ago, we had a kind of a bad weekend a couple weeks ago while I was in the Bahamas. So it was nice to get a big weekend.
It was
Quick turnaround.
It was a very fun weekend tailing the plays. I'll tell you that much. It was it was awesome. You were on fire, to say the least, and we got a lot of good games this weekend. This past weekend, so it was a good weekend of football all around. Some good hockey as well.
Yeah, hockey's been fun. We had these 16 games last week, all in one night. That was great, and
You had like 18 plays or something for that, and what were you positive
that
by
was
6 or 7 or something like that?
that was like a rare day. I mean, we'll never
Of
have that
course.
many plays ever, but it was like one of those kind of like a Super Bowl for hockey, I guess you could say so, or like the NBA Christmas Day for hockey. So hopefully they do it a few more times this year because I think it gets a lot of people interested and it was fun. So,
It was very fun
uh,
from a viewer perspective, no doubt.
but we've been crushing this season. We're like, I think we're 55-42 this season, and on the last 3 weekends we're like 22-5 on the weekends. So we've been crushing weekends, Saturdays and Sundays. So I'm looking forward to this week's hockey also, as
Sure.
in addition to football. So.
Well, let's go ahead and jump on into this week's football. Number 25, Kansas State. They're heading over to Austin. Number 7, Texas. They're 4-point favorites. The total set at 51. We got Kansas State. They're coming off 2 games where they've just absolutely routed their opponents by like 40 points. Texas, they roughed up BYU a little bit last week, but they're not clicking like you would expect them to. Granted, Quinn Ewers is out. They've got Malik Murphy playing. What do you think about this game this weekend?
I tweeted it. I said that the Big 10, the Big 12 will be eliminated from playoff contention when Kansas State beats Texas this weekend. So I think Kansas State is just a lot tougher than Texas. They play very tough football, and they always have. And they're a scrappy team. They don't really finesse you at all. They just play hard-nosed football. And they're getting better by the week. I think they won last week 41-0 against Houston.
Yep.
Which is a team that
kind of gave Texas a little bit of a run for their money.
A team that got screwed on a spot at the end of their game. They could have beaten Texas, and then Kansas State just shut them out. Kansas State won the week before 41-3. So this team is really playing very well. They're well coached. And, like I said, Texas, look, Ewers is out and Malik Murphy is starting, I think, and Manning, the backup to him. I just don't think Texas is very explosive without Ewers, and I think they'll be up against it, this week. Historically, Kansas State plays them very well, so I would not be surprised if Kansas State, won this game outright this weekend.
I'm right there with you. This is a very scary spot for Texas, in my opinion. They're down their star quarterback. Granted, they've got Malik Murphy, who he's a star. Everybody knows who he is. He's huge. He's gigantic, physical player, but we don't really know how he's going to perform out there on the field yet. Top 200 recruit, so it's not like he's a bad player, so we'll see. But Kansas State, they're fired on all cylinders right now, and this is a scary spot for Texas. Kansas State is not the team you want to meet when you're down like this. So I'm right there with you with thinking Kansas State's a pretty good lean in this position. I mean, +4, I like it a lot. And that total of 51, I could see this going way. By the way, every time I've said that on this show, it's gone under. Just throwing that out there.
I mean, listen,
take that with a grain of salt.
I thought last week I gave a 5-team parlay to clients, and one of the legs it wasn't one of my plays, but I threw it into the parlay. It was the Houston Kansas State over, and Kansas State shut Houston out. So this Kansas State defense is very good. And I mean, that is a low total, but I would probably just play Kansas State with the points.
Yeah, I'm trying to stay away from totals after the past couple of weeks. Moving on, number 12, Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish, they're 3-point favorites against the Clemson Tigers. Total is set at 45. Clemson's coming off a bye week, and they're also coming off their coach absolutely going nuts on a
No,
caller
no,
on
no,
a
no.
call-in show.
Clemson got destroyed by NC State.
NC State. This is
Yeah.
correct. Yes, NC State. We can't forget about this loss. Yeah.
Um,
So
but yeah,
yeah, so Dabo on a radio call-in show is just getting slaughtered by this kid, and I think the kid just unbelievable masterclass troll act. He was getting every little talking point that he could into that question, and Dabo, he took the bait and he went on and on and on for minutes.
I don't know why. I honestly don't know why they let the kid go on for so long, because he was like, he asked Dabo if he was, are you familiar with the verse like so and so in the Bible? Like, I mean, at that point, I would have been like, just shut the fuck up, right? Like,
Right.
Enough, right? I would have just hung up on the kid at that point, because the guy had to have been trolling, because nobody can be out of touch that much. I mean, like, Clemson was nothing in football for like 40 years, right? They won one title, I think, in like 30 something years. They're absolutely nothing. It's pretty much a garbage program, right? They called Clemsoning because Clemson will always choke in big games, and then they never won anything. Then Dabo came along and they won 2 national titles in 7 years, like he said, right? They go to the playoffs every single year. They won 12 games for like 3 straight years. So, Clemson's fans' expectations are just way too high. Sometimes you're going to have a drop off, right? Like when Florida State lost Jameis Winston, they had a drop off. When Clemson loses like Trevor Lawrence, I mean, there's going to be a drop off. This guy is he's one of the QBs of the generation for college. So I think the fans just expect too much. But I think Dabo, I think the guy had to be trolling because nobody can be that out of touch. And he said, Dabo has gotten cocky since 2018, and
something changed in 2018. Oh man,
like turned his back on Jesus and stuff. I would have just hung up if I was Dabo at that point. I actually give him credit for letting the guy finish.
Me too.
But
how did you do that?
He destroyed the guy. He just destroyed the guy, and it was pretty funny. But yeah, I think
it was one of the rare videos. It's 5 minutes long that I was, fully interested for the whole 5 minutes. Like I was like, wow, Dab. And if you listen to the full story or question from the guy that called in, it's like a 10-minute video. But it's definitely worth the listen. Find that if you haven't heard it.
And it won't get any better for Clemson this weekend when they play Notre Dame, because Notre Dame's defense is very good. I mean, they just destroyed Pitt. They're playing very well. I mean, they could have scored 70 on Pitt last week if Hartman doesn't throw 2 red zone interceptions. Right. But I think they had 2 defensive touchdowns. They had a special teams touchdown. So they were clicking in every category. They have a top 10 defense.
And Clemson's offense is not clicking at all. So
they're not. I think against Miami, Clemson had 21 yards rushing. Shipley has not had a good year.
Will Shipley should not be a starting running back in the college football lanes.
He was good as a freshman, but it's kind of been downhill since then.
Think of all those linemen he had around him as a freshman, man. Good Lord, they were loaded. And now
he seems like a good third down back, like an Austin Eckler maybe. But I just think when he's the main guy, it's kind of tough for him, because he kind of runs like Mike Allstott, up the middle, damaging, trying for those hard runs. But the problem with Clemson is, Klubnik, they don't really have many receivers to throw to. Klubnik struggles, and they basically just load up and stop the run. So, I think we saw in Dabo's phone call that, they're kind of coming off the hinges. And I expect Notre Dame to win this game. That's for sure. Because Notre Dame's played a very tough schedule this season. And I think they get it done against Clemson for sure.
Yeah, they're 3-point favorites. The total set at 45. I'm staying away from the total. Both of these teams have, Clemson has the potential to have a stout defense. All of their games are also pretty low scoring, if I'm remembering correctly. So staying away from that total, but I like that Notre Dame -3 for sure. Moving on, number 14, Missouri Tigers heading down to Georgia to face the number 1 Georgia Bulldogs. Total set at 55.5. Missouri, they're hot, man. They're hot. They're coming off a bye week. Georgia, they just, put a little beat down on Florida this past weekend at the cocktail party. I believe it was 23-point victory. But they look good. They look good. So all the questions about Georgia, have they been answered yet? No, but they are improving week to week, like we've been saying, like a broken record for the last 7 weeks. But Missouri, they're a little spicy, man. Georgia should be a little nervous about this game, I feel. What do you think?
I don't think really Georgia should be nervous, because Georgia's been getting better by the week, and they're early in the season for the first 4 or 5 games, they would start games slow on offense and get rolling in the second half. Now they're starting to get rolling on offense in the first half. A lot of people thought the Gators would give them a run for their money last week, right? A lot of Gators fans thought, oh, Brock Bowers is out, and, this is our
The
chance.
14.5 is too high.
And meanwhile, I saw a kid who's a backup tight end for Georgia make like a one-handed catch, like just ridiculous catch. And he's huge also. So it's like they just got another one in the bullpen waiting to come in to replace guys. So
it's a naive thought to think that wasn't going to happen too.
And Carson Beck's playing great. And if this game was at Missouri, I'd be like, Missouri's got a shot maybe. But at Georgia, I mean, I don't think they have any shot to win. But, I mean, they could cover. I just don't see Missouri with any shot to win because, Georgia's defense, this will be the best team defense that Missouri played all year. And I don't see Missouri's defense stopping this Georgia offense. I think Georgia's just too big, too physical, and too well coached, right? So I think Georgia definitely wins. I mean,
it's a 15.5 Georgia.
Maybe Missouri can backdoor cover, but I'm definitely probably not going to play the spread.
No.
But I don't think there's any way Missouri beats Georgia.
It's going to be I'm going to be tuning into this game for sure. I think it's going to be an interesting one. Mizzou, they played against Kansas State, had that walk-off 60-yard field goal. But that's really their only test so far this year, is that Kansas State team, and that's nothing in comparison to Georgia. So we'll see.
And Kansas State was not playing their best football that game. They played probably
this was week 3, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, probably one of their poorest games of the year, and they still should have won. I mean, but you look at Georgia now; they've got the 7th-ranked offense, scoring offense, 7th-ranked scoring defense. So this is a top 10 team in both categories. So they're just reloading every year and getting better, essentially. And they've been getting better by the week. So I think Georgia has no problem with Missouri.
We shall see. Moving on, number 5, Washington, 3.5-point favorites versus the 24th-ranked USC Trojans. Total set at 76, way up there. USC, how are they still ranked? First off, they're just clinging to that top 25 by a thread. Almost lost a Cal this past weekend. Defense is terrible. Offense, obviously, they're putting up points. I think they put up 56. But who cares, man? The Cal Bears put up 49 points against them. It's excruciating to watch as a college football fan. I mean, unless you like offense, their defense looks terrible. Washington, first half, they kind of were in a little bit of a shootout with Stanford. I think they wound up winning by, 18?
Not 9, I think, something like
9?
that.
Okay, so not that much. But they struggled a little bit with Stanford. However, 3.5 points. Penix is going to be scoring some touchdowns, man. He's going to be slinging the damn ball. And USC, I just do not think they're going to be able to stop it. 3.5 points. It all comes down to if USC can keep up, and Washington's one of the better defensive teams that they've played all year. So we'll just have to see. But I like Washington in this game.
Yeah, I'd say this is probably the 3rd best defense that USC's played this year. And the first 2 they lost. So, look, Washington, since beating Oregon, they've struggled in a couple of games, right? They almost lost to I got it right. A couple of games ago. Who did they almost lose to?
Arizona State. It was that really low scoring 15-7 game.
They needed a pick 6 at the end to win it. And, last week they kind of struggled against Stanford, kind of played slow. Penix has been a little off for 2 weeks. They haven't really been as explosive. But this is, with a guy who's been struggling, with an offense who's been struggling to score, I think this is the perfect situation for them. You're going against a USC defense who can't stop anybody. This USC defense is just terrible. They're 112th in the country in scoring defense, right? They're second.
I think Vanderbilt puts up 28 against them.
USC is second in scoring offense, and they're 112th in scoring defense. So as good as the offense is, that's equally as how bad the defense is. So anybody can put up points on this USC defense. In Washington, they've got the 9th-ranked scoring offense in the country, the 34th-ranked scoring defense in the country, giving up 20 points a game. So I think this is a get-right spot for Washington's offense, and I think they put up at least 50 points on them. I do think USC can score some points, but Yeah, I mean, the Washington defense is better when it comes down to it. I think they can force some turnovers. I don't really see the USC defense forcing many turnovers. And with 2 losses already, ranked
Where's
number
their headspace? Yeah.
24, like where's like Caleb Williams, like is he ready to get out of there and go to the draft? I mean, does he really want to play much anymore? Lincoln Riley, he's hearing it from all sides now, right? He's got the same record, um, as their previous coach, right? I mean,
Who was
uh,
their previous coach? Do we remember his name? Clay Helton.
yeah, Clay. He's
Clay
got the
Helton took
same.
over for Lane Kiffin, I believe,
He's got the same exact record as Clay Helton um,
after 2
this
seasons.
after this amount of games, and Clay Helton beat Utah in this. Lincoln Riley's 0-3 against Utah in just 2 seasons. So this USC team is headed the wrong way, and I don't think that they can keep up with Washington or stop Washington at all. And if they win this game, it's going to be because Caleb Williams just went absolutely bonkers.
And
But
scored 60 plus.
I think this is a game where Michael Penix knows he can throw 6 touchdowns easily against this defense and cement that Heisman. So I think this is a game where Washington just potentially blows them out. But I'd definitely take the over because I would never touch an under.
With USC involved. Absolutely not.
When they're giving up 49 to Cal, it's probably a bad sign. So I like Washington in the spot.
Yeah, I like Washington in the over, man. Moving on, number 13, LSU going to Alabama. Number 8, Crimson Tide. They're 3-point favorites. The total is set at 60. I mean, I think this game really comes down to, can Alabama's offense keep up with LSU's offense? I don't think, Alabama's got a decent defense, but I don't really know if they're going to slow down LSU's, prolific offense that much. I also really don't think Alabama is going to be able to keep up with the LSU offense, but we're going to have to see. I mean, they're the dog here, but I like LSU and the Tigers a lot.
Yeah, for me, it comes down to coaching, right? Nick Saban can coach circles around Brian Kelly. LSU, like everybody is talking about LSU, like they're one of the best teams in the country. They've lost 2 games, right? Like, as good as quarterback play they've had. I mean, he's lost twice, right? How can you be one of the Heisman contenders when you've lost 2 games out of your first 8, right? Losing to FSU, getting blown out the second half to FSU, and then losing to Ole Miss. Gave up 55 to Ole Miss, right?
I believe so.
And I think Alabama, their defense has been coming on like gangbusters. They're 16th in scoring defense right now. They're getting better by the week. And I think in that second half against Tennessee, I think Alabama found something where
absolute lockdown.
I think Tommy Rees is pretty much the offense has struggled this year, like to the point where I think Tommy Rees is pretty much coaching for his job, next season. So I think they need to just open it up, right, and let Milroe throw the ball. And USC, I mean LSU's defense is not very good either. They're 75th in scoring defense. They can't stop anybody. They've gotten lucky, to win a couple, like against Missouri. They got lucky to come back and win that game.
And Arkansas as well. I mean, they got lucky to hold that one out.
So, I mean, they could have 4 losses, right? So, Bama, they did lose Texas, but I think they've played much better since then. Their defense is much better since then. And it's at Bama. I think, this is a game where Bama wants some payback. And, Bama has everything in front of them, right? If they win the rest of the games.
The West is theirs.
If they win the West and get to the SEC championship, if they beat Georgia, they're in the playoffs, right? So everything they have is in front of them. And I think Bama comes to play. Because like I said, LSU has lost the 2 best teams they've played against this year. So
right.
I'm just not thinking they're just going to turn it around and just all of a sudden beat a really good team. How will they deal with adversity, right? If they get behind, right? Because we've seen Alabama get behind 2 touchdowns, right, to Tennessee last weekend and come back like it was nothing against a Tennessee team who was playing well, right? And Brian Kelly, he hasn't been the guy from. I mean, look, LSU fans 4 games ago, they wanted Brian Kelly fired. Right now, they love him. Right, if they lose this weekend, they'll want him fired again. So
they will.
I think Nick Saban obviously is the greatest coach of all time in college, and I think he'll have his boys ready for this weekend. So when the line that is that short, I'll definitely take Bama at home.
Yeah, Bama -3 at home. It's usually can't stay away from line, so we'll see how the game winds up going. Let's move on to the NFL. Titans, Steelers, little Thursday night football action. Steelers are 3-point favorites. The total is set at 36. This past weekend, we saw Will Levis emerge as a guy, allegedly, against one of the worst defenses in the league, of course. But Will Levis, 4 touchdowns in his debut. I mean, it's hard not to be excited about that for Titans fans. And then Vrabel in his press conference today. Let me be clear, guys. Will Levis is not the starter. Ryan will be starting if he's healthy. So let's just be clear. Out of touch, buddy. Out of touch. But whatever. What do you think?
He is. I think he's very out of touch. I mean, when a guy just throws 4 touchdowns, and Tannehill a couple of years ago had probably one of the best seasons in the NFL as a quarterback.
But got his big contract. He earned it. But that's
he's far removed from that time. I think he's just injured and he's banged up and stuff. So why not let Will Levis play? Because obviously Will Levis is going to be started for next year, right? So why not, go to Levis? I mean, look, the Titans, they're not winning anything this year, right? They're not.
Right.
They're not going to the playoffs, right? And they're not a threat to win anything. So why not let Levis play? I just think Mike Vrabel's he's one of those fake tough guys. I think he's one of the most overrated coaches in the NFL to me. And I do see him probably starting Tannehill, right? Because he's just a hard-headed guy.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want. He wants to be.
He flat out said he was going to.
He wants to be the guy making the decisions, right? Like he's not going to let a guy's play affect him. So listen, if Will Levis has played that well all year in practice and he had him in 3rd string, I think there's something wrong there because
he's get fired. Oh, criminal.
Just look, you brought Malik Willis in before him, like against like the Baltimore, right, in the England game. So I just Mike Vrabel, like I said, he's a hardo. And it's like his way or the highway. And I definitely think he'll probably start Tannehill, like, just to get his point across, right? But I think Levis.
Will he take him out after the first 2 interceptions, or will he leave him in?
Yeah, what we saw from Levis, I couldn't believe it actually. But
I couldn't either.
Some of those throws are wide open. But I give the guy credit because I didn't think he would throw 4 touchdowns in the game ever, and he did. So I give Will Levis a little credit where credit's due, but.
We'll see how he backs it up. We'll see if he gets
against a tough Steelers defense. Problem is the Steelers offense is terrible. And is Pickett out or is Trubisky starting?
I don't know. I don't know. Either way, their offense has no pulse. It might as well not even be out there. Might as well just punt it.
They have no pulse, and this is a game where I'd definitely, I wouldn't want to touch the over because both teams struggle to score.
It's like
I could see if either team gets up by 10 points, them just running the ball the entire time. So probably pass on this game, but I don't really see much scoring happening.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Boring game. Shocker. Hey, Thursday night football, boring game. Big surprise. Moving on. Dolphins. This is the Germany game over in Frankfurt. Dolphins versus Chiefs. Chiefs are 2.5-point favorites. The total is set at 50.5. We're getting a terrible Chiefs team coming off the past 2 weeks. They've looked abysmal. Really, the last 3 weeks, they haven't looked that great offensively. Defense has been there outside of this past week. Russell Wilson looked competent against them somehow, and he hasn't looked competent in 2 years. Things just they're not clicking up there in Kansas City. Losing to the Denver Broncos, one of the worst teams, bottom 3 teams in the NFL. And you're supposed to be, and I know it's the NFL, any team can beat anybody, but that was a horrible offensive performance from the Chiefs. And if they have that performance against the Dolphins, they're not going to be anywhere close to beating them. I mean, they're not going to be anywhere close. So what do you think?
Listen, if this game was in Kansas City, I'd say that the Chiefs could win. But honestly, since it's in Germany, the Dolphins are going to smash the Chiefs on Sunday. The Dolphins are going to smash them. The Chiefs will not be able to stop them. Tyreek Hill has been waiting for this game.
He's a career game incoming.
Tyreek Hill is unstoppable. Right? There's nobody in the NFL who can guard Tyreek Hill. And then you have Jalen Waddle, who's almost unguardable himself, right? There's nobody who can stop them in the NFL. Mostert, when he gets,
and then you've got a quarterback that's making guys unguardable from how accurate he's throwing it.
He is. Tua, his release is so fast. He's not getting sacked. He's only been sacked a handful of times all season. He's playing number 1 QBR in the NFL, right? He's leading almost all the stat categories in the NFL. He's throwing 3 touchdowns a week. and I don't see the Dolphins losing this game. To be honest, with Jalen Ramsey back, we saw Jalen Ramsey with
A little interception.
a vicious hit last week, a forced fumble, and a pick off a torn meniscus just 90 days ago.
He's back.
3 months ago, he was running full speed. So I like the Dolphins, and the Dolphins are going to win this game straight up. And I wouldn't be surprised if they blew Kansas City out, because Kansas City they haven't looked good to me all year. Of course, they've got Mahomes and Kelsey,
and they haven't looked good against not good teams.
Outside of that, they don't have anything. They don't have any receivers. The receivers are trash. Rashee Rice, he's their best receiver. He's a good receiver. He's a rookie, and I mean he's like second in the NFL in yards after catch. But guess who's first, right? That's like Tyreek Hill. So I just don't see Kansas City keeping up with the Dolphins, and Kansas City coming off that road loss at Denver. Now you're traveling cross country across the ocean,
across the ocean,
Germany. Yeah. Dolphins got to Germany yesterday. They left yesterday to Germany, so they're going to be there early because Mike McDaniel wanted to acclimate to the settings over there. So I think the Dolphins blow them out, to be honest. I'll gladly eat my words if the Chiefs win, but the Chiefs have not looked good really at all this year. And I think the Dolphins, since this game is at a neutral spot, and there will probably be more Dolphin fans there because the Dolphins are one of the most popular teams in the world as a brand.
Yeah.
I think the Dolphins.
I'm sure the Chiefs they're getting up there the past couple of years run that they've had, but the Dolphins are cemented.
I think the Dolphins, beat them handily. So Dolphins money line for me.
Hey, I'm going to be really excited to wake up early Sunday morning and watch it. I know that much. Moving on, Cowboys heading up to Philly, taking on the Eagles. Eagles are 3-point favorites. The total is set at 46. The Cowboys and the Eagles both had some pretty prolific offensive performances this past week. I mean, the Eagles gave up quite a bit of points to the Commanders, but the Cowboys, I mean, the Dak to CeeDee Lamb connection was there. He had like 3 touchdowns. Same deal with A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts, though. He had 2 touchdowns and just an absolute slew of yards. So both these teams offensively are cooking. So I'm excited for a good game. Don't know if I'm going to mess with the total or not, but that Eagles -3, I don't know. What you think?
The Cowboys are a tough team to gauge because like a different team can show up every week, right? Like, we saw them just didn't even show up at all against the Cardinals, didn't show up at all at the Niners. And then last week they played their best game of the season, probably against the Rams, where they did everything right. They couldn't be stopped. Now they're traveling to Philly, and the Eagles have been, looking all right. They've been struggling pretty much. The Eagles have been in the fight pretty much every week.
Lackluster wins.
And Hurts has not looked really great this year, so I'd probably lean the over on this one. I'm not really sure which side I would take, but I would definitely lean the over in this one because I think we do see some scoring, unless some weather comes in that we don't know now, like there's 35-mile-per-hour winds or something like that, or a snowstorm or something. But I think the over is the play here. But I'm not dying to take the Eagles, but the Cowboys. I don't want to take the Cowboys, and then the Cowboys just don't show up because. Like I said, they're a tough team.
Because then it's like, I knew this was going to happen kind of feeling. Like, why did I take the Cowboys?
Week to week, it's a different Cowboys team. That's the problem. They have no consistency. So I'd probably just pass on a side for this one, but I would definitely probably, sprinkle the over.
It's going to be a good game to watch if you're not a fan of either. Moving on, Bills at Bengals. Bengals are 3-point favorites. The total set at 48.5. This is a little rematch from last year. The infamous Bills-Bengals game. So let's hope that we don't have anything like that happen. But, I mean, what are your thoughts on this game?
I mean, the way the Bengals are playing right now, I'm not betting against Joe Burrow, right? Joe Burrow has been on fire. The Bengals offense has been on fire. And what are they, 4-4 now?
Yes.
I don't see, they've won 3 straight.
And they've looked really good doing it.
They just destroyed the Niners in San Fran. I'm definitely not going to bet against Joe Burrow, so I'll probably take the Bengals at home to beat the Bills, who have been struggling lately. The Bills, they've been, kind of doing what the Cowboys do. They're up and down, up and down, up and down. I think they've had so many injuries now, so many key injuries. It's tough for them to replace those guys.
Leonard Fournette coming up to the Bills today.
Leonard Fournette, really?
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
But look, I'm not trying to bet against Joe Burrow, right? Like Joe Burrow at home. I mean, I'll take that all day, especially with his track record against the Bills, right? So I'll take the Bengals in that spot for sure.
Yeah, I like the Bengals as well. This past game against the 49ers, that offense looked seamless. Jamar Chase was open like you said he was. He said post-game, welcome back, Burrow. That's all we need to be saying. And I'm pretty sure that's all we did just say. Welcome back, Burrow. He looks great. I like the Bengals here a lot. Any other thoughts on the games for this week?
I mean, that's pretty much it. I'm looking forward to a big week of football, right? We're heading into November now for football. So it's when things start getting exciting, when we start getting a playoff picture in college
First CFP
football,
rankings coming out tonight, I believe.
Which I won't even watch because you'll probably be furious at the.
When you wait 20 minutes to get the first release.
Yeah, they're saying Michigan should be ranked first. I disagree with it. I mean, I think Michigan's just a bunch of cheaters, a cheating program.
We didn't even talk about that.
They're talking about Harbaugh. Not, they pulled off his raise off the table. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Michigan situation. But personally, if I find out they cheated for 3 years, I would ban them for 3 years from the postseason. But
they should. I mean, and the fact that they allegedly colluded with these other teams to, get rid of potential harmful playoff opponents is insane. And the way they were going about doing all these things is insane. We could have a whole 40-minute episode about it.
There's it's just ironic they did it with Shane Beamer because he had gotten in trouble for it before, so I can definitely see that.
Yeah, he had gotten in trouble with it. I can't remember.
I can definitely see that. Can definitely see that happening. But how scummy do you got to be so scared of playing a team that you give information to their opponent because you want them to beat them for you, right? It's just like scummy. A coward.
I mean, we got this guy, Connor Stallions, with the Michigan Manifesto, man. I'd give $1,000. I'd donate $1,000 to charity of anybody's choice to read that thing. I would love to read the Michigan Manifesto. I bet there's no telling what he has in that thing. Second Michigan Manifesto to gain some notoriety, by the way.
Yeah, with Ted Kaczynski.
Yeah.
But, listen, I think it's if people think the guy was acting on his own, they're stupid. I mean, it's definitely coming from the top, definitely from Harbaugh. You can see him standing next to all the coaches while on the sidelines, right, giving them all the plays, right?
The stat sheet printed out, laminated. TCU just goes a huge play, and all their jaws are – and, it's because they just like, oh, my God, I thought they were supposed to run it right there.
And they did TCU did all dummy plays, which is genius, actually.
Yeah.
So it actually makes sense when you think
the matchup gets announced. TCU's coaches start receiving calls from countless Big Ten coaches telling them, like, hey, like, they've already got your signs and they're going to have them even if you change them.
When you look back on it, it looks really, like, funny now because TCU just, like, had guys wide open and stuff. And just because Michigan was running their own defense, it's because they thought the play was something else. So it's pretty interesting. But I'm looking forward to, we got 6 days until college basketball begins. And NHL going strong. So looking forward to baseball ending soon and getting on with November. It's going to be a fun month.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun month. We've got, like you said, baseball World Series going to be winding down here soon. The college basketball. Man, I can't wait for college basketball. It's always the best time of the year when you got college basketball going, college football going. Whew, hard to beat. All right, that's all I got, my man. That's all I got. Fellas, we appreciate everybody watching. Also, if you got a voicemail, we got a voicemail number, 970-787-BEAT, 970-787-2328. If you got a, frustration with your team, call it in. We didn't have any this past week, so I guess everybody was super satisfied with their team's performance, and I know that's not the truth. So be sure to call in the voicemail. Let us know what you think and what you hate, and we'll be back here next week.
We should really just post the number on the Clemson message board.
Oh, my God, honestly.
Yeah, let them call in.
And get Scott from wherever he was from.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe we get Dabo to call in. Wouldn't that be something? That would really be something. All right, guys. Hey, we appreciate everybody tuning in. See you all next week.